This episode of Dirt Time is brought to you by Top Spray. Top Spray manufactures and installs environmentally responsible erosion and sediment control solutions. Go to topspray.com for more information. And the Rifle M100. Your work just got a lot easier with the Rifle M100 staple gun. With its 100 staple cartridge capacity, ergonomic design, the Rifle M100 will save you time while saving your back. Reliable, precise. The Rifle M100. Visit riflem100.com to learn more. The Rifle M100 is a product of erosioncontrolblanket.com.
Cody Jackson, he's from Edmonton, and he's with Top Spray. And what we want to demonstrate here today is, I think this is going to be an alternative to silt fence in many applications. What we're doing is putting compost, injecting it inside of this tube using the compressor and stuff. And you can lay these compost berms along really fast. Cody tells me they also have stakes where you can stake it so you get even more support. The netting that this is in, this is a proprietary product, however, this is from Filtrex. And Filtrex makes this sock. If you want to use their sock, you have to be a certified applicator. You've gone through training for them and stuff. So you make sure that you apply their product correctly. And so with one of these machines and these blowers, we can lay compost blankets down, which could be your mulch and your seed bed and mycorrhizae and fungi. And there's even a micro blend that goes in here, some gum and glue that'll hold the thing together. What you've got here is a all-around erosion control. You can lay a compost blanket, you can lay a compost sock, and in a moment we're gonna see a compost berm. We'll lay this berm along here, and then in here we're gonna blow a compost blanket. And then we're going to move over to the other side and lay a compost berm down. Put your eye protection on, there's a little bit of stuff flows. These compost socks are a sediment control practice. This is live growing medium, wood chips in this case, encapsulated into a special sock that's very strong. The beauty of the socks is you can actually put seed and fertilizer, and there's mycorrhizae in here. The fungi and the hyphae start locking the sock back together. The grasses start to grow, and they're pretty much can be a permanent berm. They form a wonderful sediment control BMP.
Heartwood chip, yeah.
For a demonstration of a compost filter sock. This is a 12-inch sock. The compost was injected in it with the blower, and we dug a little bit of a trench to sit it in. You can see it won't move. It's really hard to move. There's a little bit of seed in here also. So ideally, this seed will start to grow and sprout. But it's really an excellent sediment control. This is an alternative to silt fences. We've even got our little J hook down here. The sediment will come down and be able to pond behind this compost sock. So I think this is a killer BMP. Like Cody and I were talking about compost. In California, compost is green waste material that's been piled up 5 feet high, cooked or composted for 30-some days. It's kept at about 130 degrees temperature, and it's turned 5 times. So how's that similar to what you got here?
Our compost has to be turned 5 times in 15 days at temperature over 50 degrees Celsius.
Over 50 degrees, all right. And then there's bacteria and stuff in this already And
Yeah, the bacteria and the hyphae from the
mycorrhizae and
fungus,
fungus.
they create little networks, and it's just like a spider web that helps hold this material together.
That's why you add a little more moisture to keep them happy.
Yeah, and it also helps the tackifier set too.
You know that sock we did, that was a 16-inch sock, is that right?
That sock there is actually a 12-inch.
12-inch sock, wow. Now how much does that cost roughly?
Our general cost on average is about $9 a lineal meter installed. Between $9 and $12. It will depend on whether it's seeded.
Right.
We can add different materials into the sock.
Now how much is silt fence cost installed around the province here?
Silt fence in our area, I've been told, is around 15 would be a low number. $15 a meter installed. A lot of people don't take into consideration is the removal cost of that silt fence. Right. The removal cost pretty much equals the installation cost.
Wow, wow.
So the lifetime cost of the silt fence is between $24 and $30 a meter.
Wow. Maybe 3 times as much. This is just like adding mulch or adding an erosion control blanket. Remember at the San Diego State University lab with the tilting bed, we tilted these up at 2 to 1, put the compost blanket down, and they were 93% effective in reducing erosion. So, I mean, this is going to be 100% effective in reducing erosion on a flat slope like this. So, just a 2-inch blanket. All right. These compost blankets are about 2 or 3 inches thick, and these compost blankets provide excellent erosion control, raindrop erosion control. You can put seeds under them or seeds in with the mix. Here's another alternative for soil stabilization, the compost blanket. Mike has already cut a lot of willow. This willow is going to be for our brush mattress. This is real life, you know, this is willow that's certainly indigenous to this area. I see about a dozen long ones out of here. Now, if you go in and you prune this bush back, next year it's going to grow a lot more straight willow. You're going to have willow like crazy. A general rule is to take 2/3 of the bush and leave 1/3. Willow kind of likes to be handled rough. If you rough it up a little bit, it likes it, okay? All those little scars in the tissue, it encourages it to send out sprouts and stuff. So you can get a little rough with it, you know, it's okay. But a lot of times what I'll do is I want my willow brush layering to be at the smallest size, the size of my finger, and at the biggest end, I would like it to be, you know, about 3/4 inch diameter. So I'd take this guy all the way down to here. And there's my minimum willow branch. This one will probably be for live siltation. Let's clean some of these excess limbs off. What I like to do is I like to let the willow bush I like to let the tree hold the stuff for me. I don't want all this extra material, and I don't want to take it down to the river with me, and I don't want to mess things up. So a lot of times I'll go through here and prune that branch up. And here's a nice willow pole that I want. So here we go, here's going to be a nice long pole. Now we can take a couple more off of this one. That's a nice branch there. Okay, watch your head. And cut it here. So here's a pole, here's a longer one. And let's put this off in another pile. You can leave some leaves on, because the leaves are sticking out of the hill and they provide additional erosion control. But I never like to leave all the leaves because I want the plant to think it's got a root. What I like to do is tie the loop in them, like so. What I recommend is you lay a couple of them down on the ground. Start stacking your bundles together. When you get your bundle nice and tight, you bring this guy through here, you cinch it down. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 loppers, a bunch of hand pruners here. We can kind of spread out here and cut a little bit of willow. And I'll walk around and kind of guide us through. And then we'll go down and do the live siltation as a group. Well, this is going good. We got the willow gatherers out here, and I instructed them also to tie the bundles up with different lengths. Sometimes we need more 2-meter willow, you know, for brush laying or live siltation. We need some long poles. So it's better if you sort those guys out when you're out in the field. So here's a really excellent willow branch. 3/4 of an inch at the butt end, and it tapers up into your little finger size. This is a nice one. We went ahead and left a little bit of leaves on the tip of it. That's going to be just fine.
Nice. Good work. So you cut them right close to the stem, I guess?
Time. It's like Wayne's World, eh? Dirt time.
With our brush layering, what we learned, Hugo Schichtel, the godfather of bioengineering, he did some studies. He laid these willows in water horizontally like this. They sent out roots at the bottom and they sent out branches off the top. The miracle of willow. But then they took the willows and they tilted them on a slight angle. And when they tilted them on an angle, they had better roots and better sprouts. And more of an angle, they had even better roots and better sprouts. So the moral of the story is, if we're planting our willows and our brush layering, let's not do them perfectly level. Let's dip them back in a little bit. We do not ever want to tilt these guys upside down. And that's the tendency when you're on construction sites. We get our level benches, we put the willow in. Eventually this part of the bench settles and the willow ends up head down. Gets all dizzy, can't grow. It's really important once you get your willows cut and bundled up that you can actually put them in a river or stream and soak them. And we like to put them in here and soak them for, well, you can soak them up to 30 days. There's been some studies out there that if you soak your willows for 10 days, you can increase establishment by 70%. So what we want to do with this willow right here is we want to throw them in the water, trick them into thinking they're drowning, and they're going to start sending out roots. And then when we get them up here in the bank, those roots are going to hold the bank together and it's all going to be good. You know, another really super technique and really easy to build is a technique called live siltation. And in this one, we take our willow branches and we stick them in the bank, usually with a rock toe at the outside, and we leave the branches sticking up. So during flood stage, when the water comes up here and floods, it feels all the little live branches, the live siltation. It causes some roughness, and it actually causes sediment to fall out of suspension. Live siltation, we've been able to put it in stream banks, and areas that were actively eroding, became areas of active deposition. Just flip them around just by the way we orient the willow. The steps to building live siltation are you dig a trench back in here very steep into the bank. We lay the willows in. We lay about 20 branches per meter, so they're sticking up, backfill it, and you're done. Live siltation is really easy to construct. Okay, this is like the perfect live siltation branch. About 2 meters long. You want the kind of smaller ones, you don't need the big poles. What they're for is they root in here and they stabilize the soil back there, but mostly the part that sticks out provides that hydraulic roughness. You can array this stuff in so many different ways. So this particular array is live siltation. 12 branches per meter. A little mycorrhizae, a little fertilizer, and then the operator would come back and backfill this. All we're gonna do is backfill from right here up to the bank. This thing is done. So put this in a little bit denser, use the smaller willow.
I wouldn't want to bury
Live siltation is a wonderful streambank stabilization technique. It's used in conjunction usually with a rock toe. So we have a rock toe here, and then behind the rock toe, we have willows dipping down deeply into the bank and sticking up into the bank full discharge. This is really good. This is a good live siltation. Boy, that's going to work great. Absolutely great. So the only step left now is to backfill. You know, they put fertilizer in already. working on the fertilizer, a little mycorrhizae going in right now, so we know that the plants are going to have any fungi or bacteria or anything they need. Everything they need is going to be right there. I think up here in the province, they're going to find that this is the most cost-effective, constructible technique there is. The idea is when the erosive flows come up and the river comes up, these willow branches provide roughness. That roughness slows the velocities down and actually leads to sedimentation. So a really wonderful technique. They're very cost-effective and easy to put in and very, very effective. Okay, so what we're going to do, we're going to install these two as the turf reinforcement mats. The flow's going that way. We're going to actually roll these down along this slope here, right above our live siltation. We want to make sure water never ever gets under this blanket, and the water is flowing this way. So if you lay your blanket like this and you dig yourself a little trench down in there, okay? Double it up a little bit down in the trench. Then we're going to go through with the rifle and we're going to staple that thing down. Then we're going to pull the soil back into the trench and pack that really well. And then you're going to roll this back over and roll it down the slope. Yep. We're going to use this one here.
Right down at the bottom. You'd actually have the second one here too. We're protecting this slope from water coming down the slope. Okay? So we're going to overlap them this way. But are we protecting it from flooding in the spring?
Yes.
So maybe we should be overlapping it the other way. And that's how.
We've got a custom reclamation mix. Seed down here, bud.
What's that thing in your hand?
Here we go. Good job. Before we anchor, all right, listen up. This is important. This is an important step. Anchoring is the Achilles heel of erosion control blanket installations, okay? It's only as good as we want that intimate soil contact. We do not want to be pulling these things tight like this. You want it nice and loose and in contact with the soil. You don't want it flopping around, and then you put in sufficient staples. On uneven ground, you'd put staples wherever there's loose area. And then we can come through and rifle it. You want to hand me the rifle there?
And you're cutting that trench. You get a real lump form.
We're cutting most of the wood.
Okay, right here we're using the coir erosion control blanket to protect for erosion, and also we have to be careful as the floods come that there's not more erosion from the flowing water. So we're using this turf reinforcement mat as both erosion control on a bare slope from raindrop impact, and also if the floodwaters do come up, to protect the bank from floodwaters. We anticipate very slow velocities. However, we still have to make sure that the blanket is anchored very, very well. We're going to use the Compost berm machine here to build a berm on top of this edge, on the top upper edge, to key in the top of the blanket so water won't get under the blanket. So we'll see how well that works. That should be a lot easier than digging a trench. So let's see how the compost berm does. This is a new innovative technique. It's probably a good replacement for silt fence. It's actually composted material. It's got seed in it. It'll actually grow. There's bacteria and fungi in this berm also. And right now, as we speak, the hyphae and all the little fungi are growing and anchoring this compost berm together. The compost berm is used for sediment control. You could place this berm around the perimeter of your erosion control site, and when you're all done, You don't have to go back and retrieve it like you do silt fence. It's a great, great sediment control BMP.